Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to Roots and Refuge Farm. I have just stepped into the nursery greenhouse on my way out to the barn, and I wanted to show you guys what's going on in here because definitely some things have changed since the last time you were in here. See here, I've got some slow bolt Napa cabbage coming up. Here's some lettuce, some dazzling blue kale and dino kale. This whole tray right here is beets. They haven't come up yet. And this little tray, or this back side of this tray, is yarrow. However, they were very old seeds. So I decided to try to start some old seeds. And by old, I mean like all the way back to like 2017. And these seeds have not been stored ideally. So they may do nothing, but I figured I'd give it a try. These were some of the older ones. I just wrote the date on the tags and what they were. A lot of them were flower seeds. A lot of these are all 2017 and 18 seeds. I'm not seeing anything yet, but I'll wait. And if it ends up that they don't grow, I'll just resow these spaces with something else. Here are my Wild Boar Farms seedlings. I started those on camera with you guys. And they're starting to come up. And over here are all my other tomatoes. Now there are a couple of varieties I started a little bit later. I'm up to 22 right now varieties. I've added a couple more, but not a lot. I'm still keeping it pretty moderate. Here are my peppers. Some of these have not yet popped, and that's kind of common for peppers to take a little while, so I'm not going to resow those just yet. Oh, and look, happy birthday, little guys. These are barely coming up. That's some holy basil right here, and I sowed it after I did all these other basils. So this greenhouse is working out fantastically for my purpose in getting it, which is I wanted a space that I could very easily heat. I wanted it really close to my house. Like yesterday, it got pretty sunny and warm, so I had this window open. And last night at like 10 o'clock when I'm laying down in bed, I'm like, oh dang, I forgot. And you know, it wasn't a big deal, just ran out the front door. Well, I didn't remind it because he's a sweet, sweet, darling angel. Oh, there is a beet. Look, happy birthday, little beet. Oh, there's a couple of them. I just didn't see them on my first look. Well, that's good. But it's just so convenient whenever you have spaces that you need to frequent very regularly to have them close to your house. Of course, when we laid this farm out, our plan was to build a house up in that front pasture, so we oriented that whole garden to that space, which is not that big of a deal, but this is like the one area where it really matters is baby seedlings where they need a lot of monitoring. You know, they're in just small amounts of soil, so sometimes I need to water them twice in a day because I need to keep it warm enough that they're germinating quickly. But when I'm keeping it warm, the soil's going to dry out faster, so I just need to water more frequently. And the other thing is when I'm in the middle of cooking and I need some herbs or something, which that's the point of this little garden here. I'm going to have an herb garden and my seedling nursery close to the house. For like running down to the garden to work for 2 hours, that doesn't matter. Like, it's not that far away. It's down the driveway. It's only inconvenient whenever you've got onions sauteing on the stove or you just got in your pajamas. So I brought this out. Unfortunately, I need this. You can see very clearly where the boundary lines of this garden are going to be. We used to have like a little above ground swimming pool right here for our kids, and so we had already leveled this and put some sand down. So in doing that, the grass isn't as prevalent here. I mean, you can see where it is, so that's partially we'll have to battle that. We were just making the most of the space we had already prepared. Some of the beds I ordered came in. I'm going to start putting those together probably inside today. So we're in the middle of kidding time. We've completed our kidding. My 3 goats have all had their kids. To catch you up if you're new here, I have had goats previously. I've had goats for the majority of the last like 10 years. I took about a 1.5 year to break when we first got dairy cows, and I thought, oh, this is fine, this covers our needs, and I was dealing with some health stuff, so I rehomed my goats and then missed them terribly and realized that I actually tolerate goat's milk better and decided to get back in goats on a much smaller scale than I had been previously. And to do that, I'd had another deal worked out that fell through because the guy ended up having basically a high health crisis where he lost a bunch of his herd. A breeder down in the low country of South Carolina. But I ended up finding a guy locally that breeds show goats. And there's a certain measure of risk when you do this, because I basically bought a few of his coals from his herd. And when you buy show goat coals, it comes with a unique set of potential problems. These two girls are out doing a little grazing today. Oh, hello, little darlings. Hey there, cuties. And these guys are learning. Oh, hey there, Bingo. Hi. You're such a sweetie. So they're all going tomorrow. We're going to go get disbudded tomorrow. They're out here exploring today, learning to nibble on grass. Of course, they will eat milk for a long while yet. But having access to learning to nibble on grass and hay and all that gets their rumen started, which is good. These two are 2 weeks old tonight, and then they're just shy of it. So we'll start separating at night and milking soon. I'm going to get them disbudded first, kind of get recovered from that before we do any separating. So it'll probably be about middle of this week that we separate and milk. And by that, I just mean we're going to take the babies away at night, and they'll spend the night away from their moms. I'll milk the moms in the morning and then put the babies back together. So we do dam raise our kids and let the moms raise them. I think it's the kindest, and it's definitely the most convenient, considering we're homesteaders. We're just trying to produce food for our family. So by buying show goat coals, the issues that I knew I was taking on some issues. Nobody sells their best animals. Occasionally you'll come across a situation where like somebody's had like they're having a lifestyle change, or there's like they're having a health issue or something like that. But typically if you are buying coals, you are buying known issues. And if they tell you the issues, that's great. So for instance, Virgie had a lopsided udder. Winnie's got a really bad underbite. Claire was the most expensive one because she didn't have as many glaring issues, but he sold her because she had kidded twice and it had been a single baby both times. This year she had triplets, so obviously that wasn't a big issue. The biggest thing for me with buying show goat coals, and I knew this was a risk I was taking, was I didn't know if they would be good moms. When people are breeding goats to sell, like either high-end stock or they're breeding goats to show, there is a practice that is common among goat keepers, and it's done for something called CAE prevention. This is a disease that can be handed down through generations of goats in milk. The only real way to prevent CAE from being passed through your herd from mother to babies is to pull the babies at birth and never let them nurse from their mothers and pasteurize all of the milk that they get. CAE is not transmittable to humans. It's not something that you have to worry about contracting from drinking the milk raw. It is very commonly done in goat keeping practices as CAE prevention to pull kids. As I mentioned, I let my kids nurse on their moms. So you can do CAE testing. The reason why it is like common practice to pull the kids is that CAE doesn't always show up on tests until goats are like significantly older. And so you may be passing it down unknowingly. And it's something that goes, is asymptomatic for a while. And then when it does become symptomatic, it becomes an issue. I had a friend that kept a CAE positive herd. She pulled all the kids at birth, and she did that. She only ever had one goat pass away from the CAE actually flaring up and the goat needed to be put down. But she kept a herd full of CAE positive goats. All of that to say, when I got these goats, I knew that they had been pulled from their mothers at birth and not raised by their mothers. I was aware of that. Mothering is, as it turns out, a generational thing. And as sweet and wonderful as these girls are, they're not terrible moms. They did clean their babies off. They have fed them. But they are not attentive moms. As it turns out, they are borderline negligent. And we have been making the decision over the last few days of what are we going to do about this. Because especially when babies are really small,
my heart's fluttering when I see how beautiful you are.
Oh my goodness, you mess. Sorry, my husband's being inappropriate for video right now. What?
My inappropriateness is between me and you.
I know, that's why I turned the camera off. Yeah. So once the goat kids get this big, you know, where they're running and jumping and leaping, it's less of a concern because they become very aggressive when it comes to eating. And even if the moms try to get away from them, they can't. Especially another 2 weeks from now, like, I will have no concerns about these babies getting enough to eat. But especially the last, you know, week and a half, 2 weeks that they've been born, it's been a concern. Because obviously, like, they can't go half the day without being fed. If I were bottle feeding them that first week and a half or so, you're feeding them 4 times a day. So what we've been doing, because I could just pull the kids and bottle feed everybody, but the problem would be then I am taking the problem I'm dealing with now and I'm perpetuating it into when these kids grow up and have babies. And so we're doing the much harder thing, because these are not, as I said, they're not terrible moms. There are some goats. I had this one goat once, literally, she'd drop her kids, step on them, and walk away. Like, she had absolutely no interest in cleaning them off. Not just one. I had a few goats that all came from the same lines. So what I'm trying to do is, especially for my doelings, I am trying to get them to eat off their moms as much as possible. The ones that have 2 babies each, the babies are good, they're strong, all of that. Winnie is the one I've been dealing with. She's older. Being a show goat coal, they're just not as resistant to things because typically people who are keeping show goats are deworming on a schedule. And she has triplets. And so I'm bottle feeding the boy so that the little girls can get more milk from their mom. But this morning I'm actually going to supplement everybody because I'm just concerned about Winnie. She's not doing great. And I'm on the brink of pulling these doelings entirely. But again, I'm really trying to strike the balance of giving them the experience of having been mothered. So maybe when they grow up and have babies, they're not going to act like their mom is acting to them. I have in the past successfully, through a lot of persistence and holding a doe and like making her feed her babies, I have successfully done this before. I have had a doe learn to be a better mother over a few years of kidding, and I've had her babies grow up to be great mothers because instead of just pulling them and bottle feeding them, I actually did the diligence of making their mom take care of them. This is a weird thing to balance. So with the little boy goat, he's at 4 times a day. He's about to drop down to 3 times a day having bottles. And I am putting him out with the other goats. Those other mamas are not going to let him nurse off of them. And he's just going to be a wether. So he's going to be castrated. He'll be like a companion buddy goat. Like, we'll sell him. It doesn't really matter for him to be as big and strong as possible. And like, that sounds kind of heartless. Obviously, I'm feeding him enough, I'm taking care of him, all of that. But for females, because they're going to go on to have babies, we want to give them the absolute strongest start possible. And so letting their mom feed them, they'll have access to more milk more frequently. And typically, dam-raised kids end up being a little stronger than bottle-fed kids. A lot of times, like once they're grown, you can't tell the difference. But I'm just feeding goat's milk here that I milked from the girls. I have not separated kids to milk yet, but as their milks come in, they've been kind of full. I have been milking off some extra for this purpose. Still fighting this a little bit. I'm able to get a little bit in at a time, and that's why I've still been giving him some access to his mom just to make sure he's getting enough. But I'm getting ready to go ahead and completely cut off his access and make him fully come for the bottle because like I said, I think it's too much for Winnie having the triplets, and I think that she really needs to focus on taking care of the girls. Go feed those babies. What you doing?
Repairing this grounding line for the Energizer.
Repairing it?
Yeah, it's like a calf or something ran through it and broke it.
Oh, that stinks. Good thing you know how to do stuff.
Yeah, good job.
Look at this. The Nanking cherries are blooming. That's lovely. Oh, it's nice and warm in here. Oh wow, hey look. The little orange tree's got blooms on it. I'm actually gonna tidy up in here just a little bit and get ready to start more seeds. Now it is early March, but my estimated last frost date is in like 5-ish weeks from now. And with that being the case, I can start a lot more flowers. I could go ahead and even start like cucumbers and melons. Though I usually do that in bigger pots just so I can disturb the roots a little less when I move them over. I could go ahead and start okra and stuff like that. A lot of things I just direct sow because we have such a long season that we can. But I'm also just so eager for the garden this year. I don't know. And the fact that I'm not starting a ton of extra plants to sell, I have more space. So I could potentially try to get a little bit of a head start on the garden. I am going to go through and do some weeding and some pruning today. It's really windy out, so I'm not going to try to video it. And I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stand it because it's like a really cold wind. But I'm so eager to get the garden in that I'm just going to start plugging away at what little bit I can every day. Thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. I'll see you more this week as we plug on into garden season and take care of these goats. God bless you. Until next time.